Good morning, CaminanTr3s. Welcome to our fourth day at Vaupés. In the previous 3 days we were walking on the roads, well, the few roads it has crossed the thick jungles of Vaupés, and we were able to know incredible places.
Vaupés estuvimos en lugares increíbles.
First we were in the community of Urania, and there we climbed very steep hills until we reached the hill that bears the same name. We got to know their caves, and this was a truly epic adventure. The second day, we were in Cerro Guacamayas, which we consider a spectacular trail to walk in the jungle, and we ended up on the hill you are observing. There we could have a spectacular view of almost the entire jungle of Vaupés. On the third day, we did have a 360-degree panorama of the entire Amazon rainforest mat here in Vaupés. That place is called Cerro Flechas in the Cima Cachivera community. It's amazing what you can see from there.
Flechas en la comunidad Cima Cachivera. Es increíble lo que se puede apreciar desde allí. Vayan
Go see it please, other 3 videos before this one. For now, today we are already here starting to navigate the Vaupés River down. The one I have here behind me is the Vaupés River. Hello. Say hello to the CaminanTr3s. Say hello, CaminanTr3s. And by this river, the Vaupés, here from Puerto El Burro, as this port is called, we will leave for a community in which we will be able to find stories of ancestry and spectacular natural landscapes. Here we go.
Vamos.
Alex, good morning.
Good morning, CaminanTr3s.
How has it gone?
Very well, thank you very much, and how are you?
Very good, thank you very much. Tell us what we are going to do today. What are you going to put us today, brother?
Well, today we are going to tour the Vaupés River. We leave from Puente El Burro. We will go to the northern part of the river and sail to the community of Trubon. We are going to go to the first rapid of the river that we find downstream, and from then on we will visit the different communities and so that they tell us a little about their culture, in order to have an enriching experience with the indigenous communities.
How long will this transfer take?
This transfer takes approximately, up and down, without stopping, between an hour and a half and 2 hours.
Not bad. Hundreds of indigenous communities move daily along this river, from the communities to the capital of Vaupés, Mitu. It is one of the most important rivers that crosses the Colombian Amazon. In its widest parts, it can reach up to 400 meters. The river crosses the entire department of Vaupés. This river will flow into the Rio Negro in Brazil, which eventually joins the Amazon River. is not all year round as you are seeing it.
Viendo hacia los meses
Towards the months of December and January, the waters go down to such an extent that extensive beaches are formed, and this is one of those places.
Este es uno de esos lugares.
This is an island that we are going to show you in the following photograph.
La siguiente fotografía.
We took that photo from up there from Urania, from the viewpoint. If you want to come in those months, you will be able to enjoy those beaches. But what you cannot do is go to a more distant places, where it is difficult to enter, since the water drops to such an extent that stones emerge and it becomes impossible to reach by river.
Llegar por vía fluvial.
Just passed through the anteroom to the rapid Gustavo Adolfo.
It is called the Cachivera de Truban, or the Rapid of Truban. Impressive stream where the water forms a rapid due to the stones that are located in this passage of the river.
This is only the introduction, and it is already beginning to show that power that water and nature have in this sector of Vaupés. CaminanTr3s, today we are at a department of southeastern Colombia, whose capital is Mitu. The experience is framed by water, we already realized. What we're going to do right now is get off here to the mainland so we can record it. As our friend Alex, who owns the company Turismo Vaupés, was telling us, this is what he usually does when he comes with his travelers. He gets off the boat to all the tourists here to pass the river rapids walking along the shore. But despite this, it is still very risky to reach these streams. So if you're going to come, actually be very careful. You don't have to play with water. We must have a great deal of respect for it. Even the friends who live here tell us to be very careful. There are people who cross the fast by boat, but they are very risky.
Exactly, very well.
The Vaupés River, as well as calm and expanded, also becomes furious and prevailing. It is 240 kilometers that runs through this immense artery of the Amazon, but there is something that makes it different from the others. It is these, their torrents, who have been responsible for keeping this region in isolation since the time of the conquest. Thanks to the force of its current, which seems to swallow whoever challenges it, the Spanish and Portuguese colony stopped its course and left in the hands of its inhabitants these lands that only they have known how to inhabit. For that reason, the Department of Vaupés still retains 27 indigenous ethnic groups, some of them intact. This is the case of the Tucano ethnic group. These raging waters are not a game. There are very few stories of castaways in the Vaupés, but they are enough for its own inhabitants to observe these scenarios from the shore and with suspicion. The river has swallowed rubber expeditions, fur and coca traffickers, and even groups of scientists have fallen into its jaws. Due to the difficult conditions of transport in the Vaupés, they have been forgotten, to the point of being the epicenter of the bloodiest guerrilla takeover. This is why they are lagging behind in a corner of the world that roars like a jaguar through these powerful and tireless gorges. Today tourism wants to reach these scenarios, in order to make it possible to contemplate what nature can do and how in our lands we have places, pristine scenarios that very few countries have the opportunity to preserve, as they are preserved here, in the Vaupés.
Precisely those rapids that one has to cross. Please wear the vest, and hold on very hard to the boat. You have to listen to the captain. Please keep in mind to carry out this activity safely. Now, after crossing those rapids, we have reached the community of Troubon. This is one community of the many that exist in the Vaupés. Did you know that the department of Vaupés is the department in which more indigenous ethnic groups live? In some texts it is documented that there are 27 indigenous ethnic groups, in some others 25. However, some of them are already on the verge of disappearing, this due to the fact that only women remain and most of them are already of advanced age. That is why they are about to disappear. There are only between 15 and 16 people left in those ethnic groups, and they are found throughout this department.
Well, at this point, we are going to ask permission. Permission must always be requested in indigenous communities to enter these sacred places. Here we are entering the Maloca, and they will briefly explain everything around this indigenous temple.
Todo lo que hay alrededor de este templo, porque son templos indígenas.
A lot happens here, not only religiously speaking, but also culturally. Do you see these signs? That is the reality of Colombia. They are posters of politicians who come to campaign and pitifully deceive people. Well, it's very difficult to fight that. Welcome to the Maloca. In these malocas, in these constructions, important events are carried out not only cultural, but spiritual. Let us remember that it is here where the most important events of indigenous communities in Colombia are held. As Jose said, this one is rectangular, it is different from the circular ones of the lower Amazon. Here in these malocas is celebrated one of the most important events for the indigenous communities of Vaupés, which is called the Yurupari festival. Yurupari is called at the time of the creation of the indigenous communities, this from the transfer of an anaconda snake through the entire river that was leaving its children on the side and side of the Vaupés River. Precisely these children represent the indigenous communities, and that act, that celebration, takes place in these important constructions.
On behalf of our company, Turismo Vaupés, of the project that was carried out and socialized with the communities, what we seek is that the indigenous communities do not change their customs for tourism, that they do not make large luxury hotels, because this will become a process of cultural uprooting. What we are looking for is that this process is carried out under a model of community and nature tourism. We want tourists to be able to come to share, to interact with the same community. That the communities can receive visitors in their homes and become bonds of friendship. That they have breakfast together, that they take tourists to the chagra, that they teach them the planting process and about their culture and have a much more constructive interaction. That it does not become the tourism of taking the beautiful photo, but that it is coming to know and exchange knowledge. That would be the ideal process. That tourists can also know the difficulties that communities are suffering and the way they live. Well, that way we could generate more empathy. That tourists can value the efforts of the communities. For example, in terms of access to electricity, without supermarkets, without a number of covered needs that we have in daily life, which for us already seem normal. So it is about giving the possibility to tourists to come and know, respect and value everything that these indigenous communities have lived for years and will continue to live in these territories without modifying their culture. Only in this way do I believe that we can continue to preserve the forest, which we need to survive.
The teacher of the community, very kindly, will give us a little bit of chivi. Chivi is an indigenous drink, which for hundreds of years has been used to calm not only thirst, but hunger, because it is composed of farina. Is that true, teacher? What is chivi like?
Chivi is like a concentrated puree.
That's right, it's a concentrate.
Does that quench thirst?
Of course it quenches thirst, it takes away hunger. In addition we use it to eat with fish, also to eat with meat.
Well, I want a little bit of chivi. Good afternoon, very pleased. How are you? Right now her husband was telling us everything that can be done with chivi.
Good afternoon, my name is Lucina.
Please serve the gentleman a little chivi.
How is the chivi, Jose?
It is very tasty, very refreshing.
How is it? Show it to the camera. It looks like lemonade.
Yes, it looks like lemonade. We said goodbye to the community of Truban, where we could see from how the indigenous people make their crafts, to how the children who are in these schools spend their time playing. Also how adults are at this time cultivating the chagra. At this moment we are already going to another of the communities that are on the banks of the Vaupés river and is called Macaquino. We are more or less about 45 minutes from Mitu down the river, and at this moment we are going to return. We will go to navigate the Vaupés river upwards again, and in about 15 minutes we will be in Macaquino, which is another community. There we are going to show them their ways of life, because as Alex told us, it is very interesting to see how all Colombians live, and it is interesting to know that there are also people who live in these extremes of our country. We will continue with this adventure crossing the Vaupés river from top to bottom and bottom to top.
Macaquino is an indigenous community on the banks of the Vaupés, the last community we will visit today and from where we want to say goodbye in this video. We have been told that this community is very beautiful. Also, look at the view we have from here. It is truly beautiful. Apparently here they are playing football. Well, this is what we like to do. To get to know the culture, the way of life of these people who are in these remote places. People who have stories to tell. Welcome to Macaquino.
What we are going to do in this community is to reach the highest part, a hill. From there we will have a spectacular view from the Vaupés river, and there we will say goodbye to this day that was framed by the ancestral culture. We are already arriving at the hill. It's up there. We promise to show you a spectacular view, a beautiful panoramic view of Vaupés.
The people of Macaquino are all totally indigenous. We belong mostly to the ethnic group of Cachiveras. There is a minority who are not cachiveras, but the rest of us are of that ethnicity. We are dedicated to the work of the chagra in order to produce for our daily sustenance.
Magnificent day today. Here we could not only see the spectacular landscapes of the Vaupés River, which I have here behind me, but also understand how the communities live, what are the realities that the indigenous people have to face daily, how the people who live on the banks of this river must subsist.
Cómo es el diario vivir de las personas que habitan a las orillas de este río.
CaminanTr3s, do not forget to subscribe to this channel. Remember that it is our 4th day in Vaupés. If you want to see the other videos we have made, at the end of the video there will be links. If you like this video, click the like button and do not miss our next adventure. Bye bye.